Valheim's an amazing game, and like most survival games, you have to work certain things out for yourself. But there are 10 things that I really feel like it could do with explaining a bit quicker or better. So specifically for Xbox players, 10 things Valheim doesn't tell you. There are multiple altars where you can summon bosses. It'll only ever show you the first or closest one to you when you find a boss location stone, but there are definitely 2 to 3, maybe even up to 4 or 5 other boss locations across the map. So don't despair if you've gone in one complete direction, but change your mind and gone in another, and then realise you've got a long trek back because you haven't set up a portals. You may be able to find a boss stone closer. So always trigger the location stones no matter what biome you're in, even if you've already gone and defeated one of the bosses. Just a rule of thumb though, you're not going to find any Elkir bosses, the deer god, when you start going more further out to the outer rims. And pretty obviously you're not going to find the Mistlands boss until you go and explore the outer rings. This leads on to another thing Valheim doesn't tell you, the map and how to explore it, what direction to go. There are 2 major biomes incomplete at the moment, the Ashlands and the Deep North. The Ashlands is going to be scheduled next, and that's likely to come towards the end of the year or the beginning of next. So the tip here is never go north. Like sure you can set up portals, and if you really want to go to the Deep North just to explore miles of snow and icebergs, then go ahead. And there are specific fish that you can only catch in the Deep North if you're trying to get hold of the fishing hat. But the best direction always to go into is towards the south, southeast or southwest. That way you'll be making progress towards the Ashlands when it arrives later on, and you won't miss out on any of the biomes as you'll still go past a whole ton of the forest, swamps, mountains, plains and the Mistlands. That said, it can be hard to find some of the Mistland dungeons particularly, so you may need to go a little bit more east or west to try and find some of them, but generally speaking always head south. So another thing Valheim doesn't do very well is tell you where or how to get hold of a trader. A trader is a random natural NPC that you'll find in the world, and it looks like they're going to be adding new ones in future updates. Effectively, you have to go quite close to one of these for it to pop up on the actual map. So there's every chance you may do a whole playthrough and not come across a trader for absolute hour upon hours. Just like the altar stones, there are multiple trader spots that you'll come across. Unlike the boss altars though, there are no stones that will actually show the location of one. Now the trader initially sells things like the fishing rod, which you'll need if you want to get high level foods later in the game, plus obviously the most important, the diverger belt. This increases your max weight capacity by 150, so definitely worth getting. You can see you can also get fish bait here as well, again something you'll need to go fishing with, and you get a circlet that has light on it to explore some dark places, as well as a Yule hat. What else it doesn't tell you, that once you defeat certain bosses, the trader will have new goods to sell, like Ymir flesh as well as eggs eventually. So this one reason alone, it's definitely worth using something like a Valheim Seed map generator website to find exactly where the traders are. Completing the game makes it more harder, and that's a good thing, but as you progress, things will suddenly start ramping up. You may notice that you get different types of events, or you may find higher level creatures in the beginning areas at night time. So let's go through them. So first, what it doesn't tell you. Basically, every time you defeat a boss, you've got a chance of the mobs that spawn in that biome appearing at night time in all of the other biomes. Let's go ahead and kill the Elder God, and you may find more shamans and the brutes roaming around at night time in the meadows, Black Forest, and of course everywhere else. You can even get things like the Draugr spawning when it's misty. So by the time you reach endgame and you complete the plains and the Mistlands, you may find some of their hardest creatures in the game roaming around if you get a call. That's why it's so important to make sure you sleep at night time. Next is events. You can see the Forest is Moving event. That begins usually after you've killed the Deer God. Events are a bit tricky and different. There's multiple different events and they depend on spawning on what boss and certain creatures you killed in combination. But a rule of thumb is, whatever boss you just killed, you've then got a chance of some of the mobs from the next biome in difficulty appearing. What the game doesn't tell you is that these events only trigger around 20% of the time every 46 minutes or so. So sometimes you'd have to play around 3.5–4 hours before you even get one single event, but again it is a random percentage. These events can occur anywhere you've got 3 base structures. It can be walls, it can be crafting benches, just 3 in close proximity. So you won't get them when you're sailing at the sea, and you won't get them if you're going to explore a dungeon. However, if you plan on a server and players are near your base, they can trigger. This is why at the moment actually having a dedicated server isn't always a good thing, especially for players that don't get on as much. You may find newer players jumping on the server and having to deal with not only random, more higher power creatures at night, but big events happening that could destroy your base. So it is super important to make sure you've got proper defences around your cosy little Viking cabin, even if you think you have conquered the meadows. Events can last for up to 90 seconds and the enemies that have spawned will stay persistent, so you will have to kill them all, they're not just going to melt away. Don't be too quick at dealing with them all. If you kill them, more will respawn. So if your defences can take it, you're actually better off waiting until the event is nearly over and then going and killing any of the creatures left. Something you probably learned by playing with your friends and then jumping back onto your single player world, that enemies will scale in multiplayer. They'll have more health and they'll be tougher to defeat. Generally they'll hit harder too. There's various stats of this for nerds, but around 40% more health for each player that joins. That's how much your enemies will start to have, and they'll all hit around 4% harder, again for each player in proximity. So if you're off exploring on your own, far away from your friends on your server or game, then you shouldn't necessarily have that difficulty spike. However, if you're close enough, then yes, enemies will be tougher to beat. You get comfort bonuses for resting and having a nicely decorated Viking home. Well, what are the actual bonuses? Well, Valheim does tell you this, but you do have to go into the status menu to check. What it doesn't tell you is how the actual comfort system works in terms of pieces and how they're placed and which ones will overwrite or contribute to each other. I've done a longer guide on this on my second channel, so go and check it out. But basically, you go ahead and build your base. If you've got a campfire and you have a sit down, you'll get a resting bonus. Your health regen will go up by 200% and your stamina and ether by 300. As soon as you get up or an enemy approaches you, you'll lose that resting bonus. Once you sat down for 20 seconds, that changes to the rested bonus, and this is where it will start to be on a timer. The rested bonus will last however long your comfort level is. You can increase your comfort level by placing different build pieces, obviously decorations and furniture around, all within the same proximity. The rested bonus does also apply once you've gotten up from a sleep, and as I said, you can see it now, it's got a timer. Doesn't matter if you leave or do anything, you're still going to have that bonus until it wears out. The bonuses are now a 50% increase in stealth regen and 100% increase in stamina and ether. So you'll see the increase whenever you're placing new decorations and you're trying to get the maximum score for the resources that you have. But some pieces do offer better quality comfort level than others. Things like rugs are all going to be the same, but they don't stack. So you only need one rug to contribute to your comfort level. It's no point or not worth having more other than just decoration. So the same applies to every kind of furniture. Only have one table, and the better tables are the long table and the round table. Doesn't matter what banner you put up, it only contributes by one level, no matter how many you have. Fires all increase, things like braziers, but the best one is the hearth, as that gives you 2. Benches, chairs and thrones all fall under the same category, so it doesn't matter how many you have, you can only have one of them contributing to your comfort level, and the best is the thrones. So you get the idea. The max comfort level you can have at the moment is level 16, and that will give you 23 minutes. There are a couple of event items like the Yule Tree and the Maypole, and these can increase it up to 25 minutes. So make sure you get these and make sure you absolutely find out the maximum amount of items and which ones to place. But I'm pretty much showing you here, and if you want more details, like I said, check out that mini guide I did on my second channel. There's a difference between a game not telling you about something and then maybe holding it back for later, and that's kind of what a good survival game does. It lets you experience new things, get new items, and these will unlock new recipes. So hopefully by now you've unlocked some of the portals, or at least the smelting opportunities, by getting yourself some of the cores. Of course, certain cores are found in the Black Forest in the burial chambers. So I guess that's a minor one. If you've been wondering how to actually smelt down any of the ores and you haven't actually explored one of these yet or picked one up, then that's how you do it. But more importantly is what else you can make and craft with the certain cores, especially if you play a multiplayer, and that is the ward stones. Given you'll be playing on your servers or in your games with sometimes randoms you might have met through Discord or whatever, I do feel like the wards should be unlocked a bit easier or earlier. You do need Grey Dwarf Eyes and Fine Wood as well. Effectively though, they'll stop other players from being able to troll you and basically take any of your goods or items, open any of your doors or chests once you've placed one down. You can see from another little mini guide I've already done that you can enable certain players to activate so they can get inside your base and open stuff, but not others. So a bit of a minor one, but I still think it's something a lot of early game players might not realise. There are ways to control how and what people interact with when they join your world. You can even use these stones to stop people stealing your crops when you plant them near any of your farms. So when it comes to skills, it does adequately tell you that obviously they're going up or increasing. As soon as you start beginning doing anything in Valheim, you'll see it pop up on your screen. Running skill increased, jumping, woodcutting, you get the idea. And then of course you can go and check your skill levels and how they're progressing. The yellow bar is your overall skill level, the orange bar is your progress towards that next level. So what doesn't the game tell you? Well, it's incredibly hard to max out a lot of these skills. Some you definitely will do, but obviously every time you die you've got a chance of losing up to 5% of the skill percentage. And just like most skill systems, the bigger the skills, the longer it takes to actually achieve the next level. So what this really means is that in the early stages, it's pretty easy to level up a lot of these. But once you start getting to the higher levels, you really do not want to die, because that 5% will come out with your total. It also reduces any progress that you have made to the next one. So you can see clubs is at level 11 here, and I'm fairly close to getting to level 12. If I were to die right now, I'd lose a chunk of that yellow bar, maybe down to another level, level 10. So if the clubs was actually at 100, I would lose 5 levels and drop me back down to 95. Some skills are definitely better than others at getting maxed out or leveled up. The jumping skill really does make a huge difference when you actually get it maxed out. And swimming, if you get that increased, can give you double the length amount that you can actually swim. Other skills are maybe not so good. Some of them max out or cap out, and so they don't really feel as many benefits. The idea of the skill system is really to be just a small, tiny, passive buff. They're not meant to be something that you really strive to level up. Hence why I don't really like videos or any ones that have done like how to level up your skill by punching a rock for 200 hours. These kinds of videos will just waste your time, and the practice of sitting there chopping away at something or hitting something static just to increase your skill level seems kind of redundant. Not unless you've got a way that you can hook up the keypad or your controller to do it while you go and do other stuff. Play the game, level up the skills passively, but don't worry or focus about them too much. One good thing though is the no skill drain buff. Basically every now and then when you die, the game takes pity on you and it will give you a 10-minute no skill loss buff. It will last for 10 minutes no matter how many more times you die after that, and you won't lose any more skills. Particularly good if you're taking on a boss and you do happen to acquire it. And I'm pretty certain in the early days of starting a fresh game, you actually get that applied pretty much the first time you die. Well, it certainly felt like it every time I've restarted. And finally, out of my 10 tips about what Valheim doesn't tell you is you can actually cheat in the game. Again, I've done an individual guide for this, so go and check it out. But in a quick nutshell, press the RB, LB, RT, LT buttons and then hold them, and then press the start button or the button with the 3 dashes. This will then bring up the dev commands. You'll then be able to go ahead and change a whole bunch of stuff. You do need to put one more command in. First off, type in dev commands. To bring up the actual chat pad bar, you have to press the A button and then always press the start button to make sure the console command has gone through. This will effectively allow more cheaty commands to be used. Without this, the only commands you can do are things like increase your FPS, maybe give yourself a restart if you've managed to get stuck somewhere, but nothing really substantial. But if you want to add your skill levels more, if you want to be able to fly across the map, use God mode, or have unlimited build controls, then you need to type in dev commands, all one word, as the first command. To deactivate any command, you pretty much put the same command in again. So I'm flying around here, the command for it is fly, and to deactivate it, it's exactly the same command. Type in fly once more and it will get rid of that command. Commands can persist as well. If you manage to just log off your Xbox for a while and then jump back straight into Valheim with the resume function, you should still be able to scroll through your commands. You can use the up and down keys to go through some of the commands that you've already put in, and you can use the right D-pad to go ahead and go through all the commands that there currently is in the game. Some of the commands do require further input, things like spawning items in or summoning certain events. So get acquainted with a good website or the wiki that has all the commands listed. To come out of the dev console commands, again it's the same buttons, LB, RB, LT, RT and start. It's always down to you. The devs have put this in for a reason. Just because it's also available on Steam and PC, they also want to have no issues. So if there's something gone wrong, you can easily repair or give yourself items or get yourself out of a sticky situation if there's a bug with the game. If you type in no cost and give yourself pretty much creative mode, unlimited build materials, then you can do that if all you like doing is building Viking lodges. Or maybe you've died and it's just been impossible to get your body back. Rather than be discouraged and quit the game, why not give yourself some brand new fresh gear? It's always up to you how you play, and when game devs add this directly into their game, it's definitely up to you on what you decide to use it with. As said, I've done a bunch of guides on showing you how to use a lot of these commands in the past, so do go and check them out. But yeah, it's not shown anywhere on how to actually activate this particular command, and they only work for the player that's hosting the world, not anyone else that joins. If you're playing on a server, you might have rented one free on a trader, use my links down below, then you can only use commands if you added yourself to the admin list, and you need to get the ID for that by bringing up the F1 menu, which is LBRB, LTRT, and then press the select or back button. You should then see an Xbox unique number, and that's the number that you would put into the admin list. Again, more videos I've done like this. I'm going to keep promoting because I've done a lot of guides and tutorials over the years, and so I'm hoping you guys will go and watch them and help yourselves. But that's it, 10 things I think Valheim doesn't explain very well in the early stages. There's a lot more. I'm definitely going to go through more tips guides for some of the biomes and talk about more of the crafting options and what you should focus on. But that is it for now. Hope you enjoyed it. If you found it useful, do leave a like. Check out both my channels for Valheim content, and I'll see you ratbags later.